Celebrating 4 years of talk like you've never heard it before, this is GabNet, the Great American Broadcast Network.
Hi everybody, this is Alex Bennett, and I've had a long and interesting trip. It's called life. And for years, people have demanded that I write a book about it, and while I've been a writer, my main talent has always been that of a broadcaster. Over a year ago, I decided not to write the book, but using my best skill, I decided to tell it. It's called Life in the Passing Lane, and I've described it as an audio biography. It's presented in 30-minute chapters, so it's easy to binge listen. And you can access it on the GabNet page by clicking on Life in the Passing Lane and going to a page with every single episode, plus some extras. If you want to access it on your mobile device, that's easy too. It's on iTunes. It's Life in the Passing Lane, an audio biography by me. I'm Alex Bennett.
Connect to life.
We do have several listeners online tonight who are either dealing with parents who have Alzheimer's or who have dealt with that and are now past the final stage.
Connect to love.
Hey, Dad, that was so creepy that you told Melissa that you had sex in 8 years.
Creepy. I don't know what's
and
wrong
you should.
with
It was
my
like
life.
deer in the headlights. Boink. Like,
Oh my God! No wonder he didn't show up to the parade afterwards. He was embarrassed.
Connect to happiness.
bumping and bumping, Linda.
Dude, you
Holy
really
cow.
were. Yeah.
Sometimes you just have to do that.
Yes.
There we
to
go.
blow it out sometimes.
Yeah. Like a Brazilian blowout was the Cuban blowout going on over here. That's going to put it out there for you people.
Connect with Connections, a nightly feature of GabNet. Join hosts Melissa Fox, Linda Nunez, Porn Star Pete, abetted by Lizzie Say What, and Mr. Punchline as they engage in a lively 2-hour romp that is bound to keep you happy and, yes, connected. Each show tackles a lifestyle or relationship topic relevant to people interested in improving themselves, dealing with the ups and downs of life, and those interested in spicing up their relationships. The gang, along with special guest hosts, share stories and connect the topics with humor to current events in entertainment, politics, culture, and even sports. So get connected, Mondays at 10 p.m. Eastern and Tuesday through Friday at 1 a.m. It's Connections, here on GabNet. Talk like you've never heard it before.
Jack Bishop of GabNet's The Intersect, Tuesdays through Fridays at midnight Eastern Time. It's everything from what's going on with the new royal couple to what's happening with that grumpy old man in the Oval Office. Movies, music, old TV shows, you name it. From thoughtful discussions to out-and-out fights like my grandma would referee between my uncles. So from mild to wild, join me, Jack Bishop, Tuesdays to Fridays at midnight for The Intersection on GabNet Live. It's talk like you never heard it.
Reasons why you tune into GabNet. Here's reason number 9. Great celebrity guests.
So how many years is this now with Teller?
43, and that's 43 continuous. You can try to say Keith Richards and Mick Jagger go longer, but they take 3, 4, 5 years off. You know, even when they're together, they take the time off. Continuous, no more than 2 weeks working apart, I think.
Wow. And
Like being waterboarded for 43 years.
GabNet. Reasons to listen every day. Log on to gabnet.net for more. GabNet. It's talk like you've never heard it before. Celebrating 4 years of talk like you've never heard it before. This is GabNet, the Great American Broadcast Network.
Hey everybody, this is Alex Bennett. This is the Ramble, and we go from now until midnight tonight, Eastern Daylight Time. And we got a guest for us to be part of our show. And we started off usually this way. Okay, here's a little thing we like to do is we like to call this guy ahead of time because when he answers, we start recording ahead of time because when he answers in a funny way. So we're calling Stephen Pearl, ladies and gentlemen. There we go. There we go. Oh. Will he answer? Oh.
I am walking on air because I just booked a role in Jonestown, the musical, a whimsical romp through the jungles of Guyana in the late 70s. Sorry, Robert Preston Jr. as Jim Jones. Going to Jonestown. That starts with J, which rhymes with K, which stands for Kool-Aid. Stands for Kool-Aid. Can't wait. The Jonestown man. He's a what? He's a what? He's a Jonestown man. Oh okay. Boy.
You're crazy.
We'll be playing the Schenectady Theater January 1st through January 2nd when we close.
You're nuts.
It'll be a wonderful theatrical appearance. Oh, thank you very much.
You're the riff master.
I'm riffing, baby. I can't stop. I just can't stop riffing. I took an OD of riff pills, vitamin R.
This is Stephen Pearl, who recently left California.
Yep, due to rising rents.
And so he can't complain about politics in California. But a few days ago, he had some elections in Nevada, and a friend of mine won election to the state assembly. There.
How about that? That's good.
Yeah. His name was Dennis Hoff. He was the owner of the Moonlight Bunny Ranch. I say was because he died.
That's right. We elected a dead guy, just like when they voted for Sherman Block after he died in L.A. I love when dead people win.
You elected a dead guy.
Well, let's put it this way. I don't think he'll give a shit about the complaints.
Either that or he'll get more done than any other politician.
That's true, yeah, that's right. Yeah. He hardly says anything, but boy, he's getting done.
No, but he went,
I like one.
He ran as a Republican, which of course daunts me. But he ran as a Republican, and so the Republican Party gets to give somebody the job. But he won it, and he won it overwhelmingly by something like 7,000 votes, and I think there were 10,000 cast, and that was it.
Oh, it was a local legend. Even in death, we still love him.
Yeah, still love him. So anyway...
Wasn't he very conservative and right wing? That's what I heard, anyways.
Yes, I don't know. But, I hadn't talked to Dennis in about a year or so, and I never talked politics with him, and he never talked politics. To him, the only time he did anything politically was when he wanted to publicize the ranch. He was very much into publicizing himself.
Sure.
But Roger Stone, who was a terrible Republican operative, referred to him as the Trump of Pahrump.
The Trump of Pahrump. I like that.
Yeah, the Trump.
I vote for him just for that.
Yeah, the Trump of Pahrump. So, anyway, but you weren't able to vote because you're too new to the state, right?
Too new to the state. I did register last week, but it wasn't in time. So look out next election. I'll vote then, but I couldn't. I could only observe this time.
Yeah.
But it went the way it went, and whatever.
Yeah. What? You can't.
Not gonna stop me from getting a haircut today. I'll tell you that one.
Well, you had to go move somewhere, and that wasn't in time to be able to vote under their rules. So you probably could have gone back to California and voted.
Sure, I'd like to drive a car that was just repaired for 10 hours just to vote. Sure, no. Not this time. I missed out this one. I'm sorry, but the next one I'll be right there. I'll be first in line.
Well, let's see. It takes you how long to get to San Francisco from
to drive there from here? It would be about 10 hours.
Really?
9 hours, something like that.
Is that
8
all?
hours, maybe 8.5.
That's not bad.
Not bad at all. Not bad at all. In fact, in January I have a gig with Carl LeBeau in Arizona, so that's a 4-hour drive each way. So.
Yeah.
That's like half of that, so mathematically speaking.
Yeah. So it takes you that long to get to Arizona?
Well, wherever this place is in Arizona,
Oh,
that's
you're
how long
going.
it takes. I don't know where the border is, but it's probably how much over the border.
You're going east, right? When you do that.
Yep, that's what they tell me.
Maybe down a little bit or something. I'm trying to remember. Nevada's wedged in there next to.
we're there somewhere, so I don't know. Kind of almost like a triangle.
Yeah. How do you like Vegas? How do you like living in Las Vegas?
I like it. I've been working. I just did a week at Jokesters, and I'm headlining there at another on the 19th through the 25th. And I've been opening for Carl LeBeau at his midnight shows and having fun. And I'm working more in a week here than I did in a year in San Francisco. Not that I don't miss San Francisco. I miss the terrain and the beautiful scenery and all that.
And
I'm having a lot of fun here, man. I'm working. I'm having a good time.
Are you getting paid for all of that?
Yes, most of it.
Okay, good. Well, that's more than happens in San Francisco. I mean, your career was.
What career? That's in '87.
And here you're working every night and things like that. And it's
when I want. Yeah, I don't want to work every night. I like being home with the cats and the weed and the TV. But still I like working too. So it's fun. I got my car back. And I got my Medicaid card, and I went to the dentist yesterday, and I'm going to work on my crown now. So soon I'll have my Wink Martindale smile back, and now I'm mobile again. So things are looking up.
What happened? What happens with like a club like Jokesters? Is that a big club, or is that just like a small comedy club?
It's a nice room. It fits a few hundred, and they have shows there, and they have comedy 7 nights a week at 10:30, and all kinds of stuff. So I don't know what a big room is. I know they fill it, so it's fun. Yeah. So I guess it's a big room. So as far as I'm concerned, then they paid me. So as far as I'm concerned, it's a bigly, hugely room.
It'd be nice.
Full of fun.
It'd be nice if you got a job at one of the hotels.
Oh, I wouldn't mind like a residency, even in a small place. Pays the bills and shit. I'm having fun.
Yeah.
Who could ask for more? Carl LeBeau got a nice little residency at the Tropicana. There's weekend midnight shows, which are kicking ass.
Bobby Slayton for a while had a residency there, and I'm trying to remember where.
Yeah, he was at Hooters, I think, at some club in Hooters. So
he
was there for all the Robert Duchesne. They had something going on for a while.
Yeah.
So it's a steady gig, And if I live here, I don't have to. I just go back home, every night.
Well, I mean,
have it in theater in Branson.
No, my friend Penn Jillette and Teller years ago started a residency at the Rio, and that has remained. It kept happening for 15, 20 years. I can't remember how long it is now, and they like it because they do their show and they go home.
There you go. And you know what I like about Vegas is as opposed to L.A. and other places, they're hiring older guys who've been doing it a while. I see a lot of guys my age, maybe a couple of years younger, a couple of years older. I see a lot of gray-haired comedians who are kicking ass, so that makes me feel good.
Why is that? I mean, why? Is it because the audiences are older?
I don't know. I've seen people in the audience who probably weren't born when I started, but there's also older people. It's a cross-section. Most people are visitors here. Let's go to Vegas for the weekend and get drunk and gamble, and we'll see a comedy show or whatever. And I don't know, but I see guys my age and a little older, a little younger working steadily, so that makes me feel good. You don't see that too much in L.A. or in New York, where they want younger people, and I can see that. They want younger faces, but us old-timers are working pretty steadily out here.
I'll tell you, I got to say something about old-timers and show business. For instance, if you're a writer in Hollywood, you're washed up at like 40, 45.
Oh, sure. The gray list, man.
Yeah.
If you're 30, you're pretty much washed up.
Yeah, because they have some idea, and that always bothered me because I couldn't figure out where being funny had an age attached to it, and especially maybe they say, well, we don't want you because you're older, and what will our audiences think? But they don't see a writer. A writer could be 80 years old, but they go, oh no, but he's not writing to a young voice.
Exactly, yeah. Like his words seem older. His words are wrinkled. Let's get a younger writer.
And I don't know. I mean, maybe this is where I'm old-fashioned. To me, funny is funny.
Exactly. That's all. Funny is funny. That's the bottom line. But
I can listen.
Unfortunately, the people in charge don't feel that way.
I can listen to comedy. Good example, Jack Benny radio shows that was done before I was born, and I can laugh at it because it's funny.
Exactly.
And these were a bunch of old guys writing this shit. Okay. It's a terrible gray wall they've created, and so. It's interesting that you say that Vegas doesn't have that gray wall, and I'm trying to figure out why. Maybe because they're just not trying to get young people into their casinos.
I don't know. I don't know how it works, but I guess young people are busy taking OxyContin and doing the peppermint twist in the street. I don't know, but I just see, from what I see, it's just older guys like me are working here pretty steadily. So I like that.
Yeah.
And they're starting to work me a bit. So, I want to try some other clubs too, see who likes me, who doesn't, whatever. Just work as much as I can without working too much. And,
a few years,
I enjoy it here.
A few years ago, my late friend Steve took me down to the Friars Club for not a roast, but just a Friars, I don't know, tribute or something to somebody. And a bunch of the oldest comics you've ever seen in your life got up to do their stuff. And it was maybe the funniest comedy show I've ever been to in my life.
There you go.
I mean,
the pros.
These guys they had done it for so long. Their timing was impeccable.
Sure.
And the jokes were, some of the dirtiest shit you ever heard in your life, But it was really amazing. It was really amazing. And so therefore I said to myself, well, there's really no age limit on being funny. And yet there is an age limit in the business.
Exactly. Yep.
And so therefore, Stephen Pearl, how old are you now, Stephen?
On the 16th, I will be 63. Oh.
63 years old.
Can't believe it. How the fuck did that happen? I thought it would stop at 26 and stay there for a while.
How that happened is you kept breathing.
I guess so. Kept breathing for 63 years.
I love it when they do a TV show and somebody gets up and they say, and how old are you? And they go, well, I'm 73. And the audience applauds. and
that's for not dying.
I'd get a standing ovation at 78,
Oh,
hey. And I'm thinking, what the fuck did they do? They did nothing. They just simply didn't stop breathing.
Exactly. Their heart kept beating, and you get applause for that. Thank you.
And then, of course, the host will then say something really stupid like, oh, you're 78 years young.
Exactly.
No, you're 78 really many old years. Okay, fucker? Yeah. I just happened to keep breathing. Like everybody says, to what do you owe your longevity, Alex? And I go, I don't know. I didn't die.
Dying. Well, I go, here's to another 78. Yeah, like that's going to fucking happen.
Yeah, so far, my great claim to fame is I've kept breathing.
There you go.
I find that
Me
stupid.
Too.
I find that really stupid. But I find just as ridiculously stupid the fact that you're dismissed.
Yep.
Every time I get a hold of somebody in this business and say, hey, I'd like to get back and do little radio shows and things like that, they go, nice to talk to you. Boy, he's a real pro. What?
Yeah.
I wondered if I still had my chops at my age, So this friend of mine, Walter Sterling, asked me to do a show on a network of 55 stations on a Sunday night because he wanted to take the night off and he wanted me to take over for him.
Yep.
So I really was panicked about this. I didn't know after 5 years of not doing a show on radio if I still had it in me, and I went down there and I was terrific. I was just terrific,
Like riding a bicycle, you don't forget. Get back on the riff train.
And I sent the file to a lot of different radio people to see if there was any interest. I didn't even hear anything back. Okay.
Yeah. They look at age. They go, "Oh, forget it."
Yeah. That's their whole.
But he's really good. He's a pro. Well, but look at the age. Forget it.
Yeah, and it's radio, by the way. My voice.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. They can hear 78. Forget it.
You can't hear 70. I'm sorry, you can't hear 78 in my voice.
I know.
Most people
say. I don't at all.
You say it's probably never changed since you knew me in San Francisco.
Sounds the same. No, sounds the same from New York, man. Shit.
Yeah. From New York? Well, I think it's changed a little bit from New York.
Sounds the same as when you had spinal conjunctivitis in late '73. See, I was listening.
Wait a minute, you remember me when I had that conjunctivitis attack?
Yep, you said you had spinal conjunctivitis and you wouldn't be driving for a while. That was in late 1973.
Yes, it was. What happened was I got conjunctivitis. Who knows how I got conjunctivitis? I got it, right? So I just let it go. I didn't know what it was. I'd never had it before. It's just my eyes were hurting and burning, right? So I I keep going, and finally, one day, a couple of days in, I bump into a kid, like a toddler.
No, get in trouble.
And I think I better see an eye doctor.
Yeah,
if I'm bumping
into a toddler.
If I'm bumping into toddlers, it's time for me to go. So I went to a doctor, and he said, "Oh, well, we can take care of that. That's easy to take care of." And I said, "How?" "Oh, we just put the nitric acid or something acid in your eyes."
Oh, lovely. That'll be fun.
And I go, "Well, that's silver nitrate, I think it was." We put it in your eyes, and that'll cure it. And I went, "Well, doesn't that hurt?" They said, "Not after we deaden the eyeball." And he puts these drops in to deaden the eyeball, and the stuff goes in there, and I can feel it like gurgling, right?
Oh.
And
Scary.
I went home, and my conjunctivitis was gone. That's all it took.
Oh man, just one little visit. How about that?
One little simple visit. But meanwhile, I was going around blind for days. I was almost wearing like patches over my eyes. I would look terrible. It was horrible. So you remember me having that and talking about it on the radio?
Sure. WPLJ, I believe.
Wow.
How about that?
Son of a bitch.
I remember stuff. I remember when the whole chili thing happened with Salvador Allende. You were talking about that on the air, and I remember those days. I remember hearing Jack Benny passed away from your show the day after Christmas, 1974. You mentioned Jack Benny passed away. Oh, that's fun.
You're right. He did die. He died, I think, on Christmas.
Yep, the day after, actually.
Yeah.
So, I remember hearing that.
How
of my life for a very long time.
See, I mean, this is funny because there are people like you who remember things. I don't remember talking about Jack Benny dying, but I would probably have done it if he had died.
Yep.
And that was what year?
That was 74, because the day after Christmas of 74, yeah. I remember when you mentioned that Candy Darling had died, the Warhol star. I remember hearing that on the radio.
Well, Candy Darling, who was one of the a Warhol superstars, I guess you could call her, and I say her. Candy was a guy, but
her eyebrows, and he was a she.
The thing was, she was gorgeous, and I got to know Candy, and when she would walk into a room, I would kiss her hello, because she demanded that respect. Okay. Because, number one, she pulled it off so well. And when she was dying, she asked me to come videotape her on her deathbed. And I just couldn't do it. I just couldn't bring myself to do it. But I wish I had, what's funny, and you'll enjoy this, there are 3 cross-dressers, well, that's what we'll call them for the time, mentioned in Lou Reed's Walk on the Wild Side.
Okay.
They are Candy Darling, he mentions Candy, Jackie Curtis, and Holly Woodlawn. And I knew all 3 of them.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah. Candy probably more than the rest, although I knew Jackie and Holly Woodlawn quite well. They used to be on my shows a lot. And the thing is that what was interesting is they were 3 different types of cross-dressers. Candy, it was like Candy admired women and loved women and dressed really well, gorgeously, and came off as a woman, okay?
Wow.
Earned your respect as a woman. On the other hand, going to the complete opposite end of that was Jackie Curtis, who would wear female clothing but have a 5-day growth.
Okay.
And I just always wondered why. It never made any sense to me. I mean, And then there was Holly Woodlawn, who was doing a cartoon character of a woman. And I often wondered if some of that wasn't not out of Candy Darling, but out of Jackie and out of Holly, wasn't a certain hatred for women. But apparently they didn't have hatred for women, because if you ever wanted to get laid, become a cross-dresser. Holly Woodlawn was banging women left and right, okay?
Oh, my God.
Yeah. So anyway, those were the three, and they were all in Walk on the Wild Side. The other one was who Joe D'Alessandro has mentioned. He's a guy who's
that's it. Little Joe, yeah.
But those three people, I knew every one of them, you know.
How about that? You've had quite a colorful array of characters in your life.
Those were the most colorful. They were amazing.
There you go.
Just amazing. Do you remember those? Man. You remember those days? I guess you do. You know.
I remember. I wasn't really part of that scene, but I remember when it was going on, and all the Andy Warhol and the Campbell soup can, all that stuff.
Yeah. Did I ever talk about going to Max's Kansas City and things like that? Where
you must have. I don't quite remember anything about that at the moment, but I'm sure you did talk about that whole scene and everything.
Yeah, my wife was working there. My current wife was working there at the time, but I don't remember her as a waitress. And you know who was a waitress there when I was going to Max's Kansas City?
Peggy Cass, just a wild guess.
Deborah Harry.
Oh, yeah, she was a waitress. She was a Playboy bunny at one time, I think, too.
Was she really? Yeah.
Yeah, I believe I saw a picture of her with the bunny ears from the 60s sometime.
But no, she was a waitress at Max's. Yeah.
How about that? You got to park somewhere.
For people who don't know, Max's Kansas City was, a bar and eatery. Okay? Yeah. And all the Warhol crowd would hang out there. That was... and I would hang out there with them, you know. And I only met Andy once, though. Andy never showed up at Max's, but everybody else did. You know, his entire crowd. What he called his little Hollywood. But I met up with Andy once at a party, and actually engaged him in conversation.
Oh, really? He spoke, huh?
Yes. But very shy guy. That's why he never spoke.
I've heard. He's
very shy. And I, to this day, think one of the most brilliant American artists, but nobody understands why.
Yeah.
You know? And I often try to say that the best description I ever heard of Andy Warhol as an artist, that the biggest work of art that Andy Warhol ever created was Andy Warhol.
Was Andy Warhol, sure. He must be the art.
He did an ad for Pioneer stereos, and somebody said,
really?
that was the ultimate Andy Warhol work of art, because he was the center of attention in the ad.
Yeah,
you know, but that everything he created around him really pointed back to him. And when he created his version of Hollywood. Again, it was like he recreated Hollywood in his own image, and he started with silent films and worked his way up to talkies, and then wound up with 3D, you know. But I think one of America's most brilliant artists. He was just amazing what he did. And everybody used to love to joke about him, but his art was very pervasive. Everybody saw it everywhere. Everybody knows the Campbell soup can.
Sure. He turned the soup can into art.
Yeah.
Only a genius could do that, my friend.
So how did I affect your future growth as an entertainer? Did I have anything to do with it?
Oh, I dug listening to you, because you were outside the box and you weren't of the norm. And, they talk about Howard Stern, but you were doing his way first. And it helped. And then when I started doing your show, oh, man, this is the guy I used to listen to. This is cool. It was like being friends with Johnny Winter or something like that. Somebody I grew up listening to. Excuse me, and enjoying, and then we're friends and we're working together. Oh, this is pretty cool.
I don't think you've ever told me this, really.
Well, I've always loved you, man. I always have.
No, I mean, I don't think you've really told me about listening to me, and you remember stuff I don't. You know.
Oh, sure, I remember that, and I think I started listening. I don't remember you on AM, but I remember when you switched to FM. I think it was PLJ or something. which was just changed from WABC FM to WPLJ, and I started listening to you at night, and I thought it was cool.
Yeah.
In 72 or 73, and then I went to school in Ohio in 73. When I came home for holidays, I turned you on,
Well,
and there you were.
it's funny that you
like
remember
73, 74.
that you remember the conjunctivitis, because I do too, since I forget a lot of things, but I remember every illness I've ever had. You know, so
yeah, me
anyway,
too. I had impetigo when I was young. I remember all of it.
Yeah. Hey, listen, we've run out of time already. Big star.
Oh, just when we're getting into fun diseases. Okay, next time.
Big star in Vegas, ladies and gentlemen. And
come see me. I'm changing my name to Jackie Star with 4 R's and a 7, just to be different.
Ladies and gentlemen, Stephen Pearl.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Come to Vegas. See me. I'm all over the place. I love you.
Celebrating 4 years of talk like you've never heard it before, this is GABNET, the Great American Broadcast Network.
And here we are. Thank you very much, Stephen. We always enjoy our little conversations with Mr. Pearl and his pearls of wisdom. I guess that's the way we would put it. I'm going to do a few things here to get everything going. Bring up on my Skype here. Open it up just in case anybody wants to call. Okay, all righty. A lot of action on strange on my Facebook page. I was testing to see if I could put up a news clip of the press conference from yesterday and see if it got flagged by Facebook or got flagged by YouTube. And the truth of the matter was, it wasn't flagged by YouTube or Facebook. But on Facebook, it got over 325 views in under 2 hours, which is better than I do with any other videos I put up. And all this was just the press conference from yesterday, which I think most people have seen. And the reason I was testing is because I might play it tonight, but I don't know if I will or I won't. But it was the most embarrassing press conference any president has ever held in the history of this republic. Did they hold? I wonder. Did Washington hold press conferences? Did Jefferson hold press conferences? Madison, Lincoln. Did Theodore Roosevelt hold press conferences? I don't know. When did the concept of press conferences start? Maybe somebody can look that up. Anyway, our lines are open, so I'm sitting here just waiting for somebody to call me, and it may as well be you. If you want to find out how to call this program, because you may have a want to do it, go over to gabnet.net. On the right-hand side of the page, a complete tutorial, very short, very fast, very simple, on how you can get Skype, if you have Skype, also how you can call our program. There's even a button there that once you have Skype on, will call us. So, be our guest. Be our guest. Ladies and gentlemen, our first caller of the evening, Phil Meyer. I was not going to be here tonight.
I know. That's why I was surprised you were.
Yeah.
You didn't go to the play?
No, here's what happened. Very silly. So I get a call from girlfriend today, and she says, you know, with this thing I just paid $85 a ticket for, they have a 2-drink minimum. I said, yeah. Well, that sucks. I mean, if you're paying $85, you shouldn't have to be given a 2-drink minimum. I said, you really should call the place and see if that 2-drink minimum is waived if you paid $85 for a ticket. And well, you're not listening to me. You're too busy adjusting
I'm
your picture.
Yeah.
So I said, you should call them and see if there is a 2-drink minimum on this deal. So she calls them, and they said, oh, well, the show closed last week.
So what happened to the $170?
Well, supposedly she got the money back, and it was returned, but she didn't know it. It was returned to her credit card. But they, I guess, closed the show down prematurely last week, and didn't matter to get a hold of people or let people. There was no way to let people know that the show had been canceled.
So what show was this?
This was a thing called, I don't know, the Trump something or another. It was a satirical show about Trump.
All right. Should have been closed.
No, you don't know. It may have been a very positive show about Trump. You have no idea.
If it's satirical, I doubt it was positive.
Well, why would that be? You couldn't do a satire of Trump and be well. No matter what you would do in satire, would not necessarily be positive towards somebody. It would be a cartoon character you would create, but it could be a very positive show. You don't know. I don't know. I'll never see it.
Yeah. Okay. Well, nice to have you here on a Thursday.
Yeah. So here I am. You know, what the hell? And then I called up Jack and I said, well, if you really want to do you had your heart set on doing my show tonight, you're welcome to do it. And he says, I had a bad night last night, so if you want to do it, just do it. You know. So I said, okay, I'm back on doing the show. So here I am.
Well,
yeah,
welcome back.
And who just called us on the phone?
This is Doug.
Hi,
How you doing?
Hi, Doug. You just couldn't bear not to call this show too, huh?
Well, I didn't want, I called Damien. I didn't want to offend you by not calling you.
Well, that
wouldn't. You probably don't want me to call you.
It wouldn't have. You think that would offend me?
No, not really.
I mean, it offends me you called. I mean that. You know.
Well, I figured last time went pretty good, so I'll just try to be normal, and I shouldn't say be normal. I'll behave. So anyway, but I hope all's well with you. I hope you're getting the Thanksgiving spirit. Just ordered a big turkey and all that. I've been told I got to cook. So
yeah, well, we get the turkey every year, and she cooks, and I can make a good turkey. I'm great at making turkey, but she'll never know because she'll never let me.
Yeah,
you know. Oh, is that the way you do a turkey?
You got any visitors coming over, or is it just you and
no? I've got
well,
so far Jack Garfine, the director, and his lovely lady Natalia are coming over, so that will be nice. And we've invited a few other people, but we don't know about them yet. But it'd be nice if they came.
Yeah, I'm cooking for about 10 people and ordered about like an 18 to 20-pound turkey there. So I'm deciding whether to cook it on the grill there or to fry it. Never fried a turkey before and don't have a fryer, but I've had fried turkey before, and it's really good.
I wouldn't do it unless you get one of those fryers that's made specifically for it. Otherwise, you're flirting with danger.
Yeah. I'd have to get one of those. There's no way I can do it at home with what I have.
Yeah. But what we did is we took some turkey parts and we deep fried them to see how that would go and how it would taste, and it was phenomenal. Just that,
Oh yeah.
Because what it does is the frying of it seals in the juices, and so you've got a very moist turkey. And
did you brine your turkey before frying it?
No, we were just testing frying it. So we got some turkey pieces. We got, I think, some breasts and some, drumsticks and things like that, and just tried it to see if how it would taste. And it tastes that just tastes phenomenal.
Now, Alex, did you use one of those peanut oil fryers where you dip the things into?
Yeah, we had a fryer, but we didn't have. If you're going to do a turkey, you've got to get one of the turkey fryers, and they're not that expensive. They're like about $40-$50 or something like that.
It's the size of them, right?
Well, it's
the oil that's expensive.
Well, what it is, it's the way they're built too. Put the you're gonna because you what are you gonna save the oil for next year?
No.
I mean, if you did it all the time, you could kind of put the oil aside. That would be fine. But the thing is that these fryers for the turkeys have number one are big enough to put a turkey in there, and then they've got a basket, but they've got an edge thing so that you can actually lift the thing out of there. It's easy to use, easy to manipulate the turkey and stuff like that. So you might look into that if you're interested, but if not,
yeah, I'm going to do it. But I mean, I definitely suggest anybody cooking a turkey out there, either they fry it or cook it in the oven, brine it before. Brine it like an hour for every pound that it is. All you need is simple water and salt. Or you can go with the.
Why should we brine it?
Lemons and stuff like that.
Why in particular should we brine it?
It breaks down the texture of the meat and makes it more tender.
It makes it more tender, or does it make it kind of mealy? You know.
No. It makes it more tender. It's just, since I've been doing it, it's sort of like, wow, this is a really good bird right here. But as I said, it's usually about an hour a pound. You can look at different brine recipes, but it's pretty much all you need is really water and salt. That's all you really need. But people add apple juice or other fruit and stuff like that to it.
Speaking of that, we've been joined by Brian.
Cute.
Yeah.
Is that Vernon, by the way?
What?
It sounds like Vernon. Is that who that is?
No.
No, it's Doug Dupree.
Doug Dupree. Before your time.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, before your time. He's just a mere child, Doug. So what have you been doing with your life, Doug? Still taking pictures, I assume.
Yeah, I'm doing the photography thing, and got some shows coming up. The reason I'm on the road and was able to contact you is I had to go pick up some pictures at a gallery I didn't show, and so it was far enough away from home, so I'm staying on the road and plan to take some pictures on the way home tomorrow, and certain plans for 2019 got turned down at a gallery up there in New York there. Which nothing new. That's part of the deal. You're gonna get turned down, you get accepted. But like this one particular gallery is like, you know what? Screw you. I'm not doing this anymore. I'm getting tired of sending y'all $35-$45 for registration, and y'all have to say like, oh no. And then it seems like everybody that they select are like locals.
I don't understand why you got to pay to be in a contest.
No, he's not in a contest. He wants to be shown in a gallery in New York.
No, technically, Phil's right. It is a contest. You submit your pictures, you give like a fee, the judges go through it, and then with my case, it's pretty much like, thanks, but no thanks, but we're keeping the money that goes towards the prize money there. But I mean, I have gotten accepted as some. Matter of fact, I got accepted for one here in Wilmington. I mean, I know Wilmington is no comparison to New York or California or anything like that, but it was one of these galleries I went into one time. It was like, that wouldn't be a bad gallery to get accepted to, and I guess one night
what the worst thing is that can happen to you is you drop dead someday, and then they find all your photos and say, what a genius. And then all of a sudden they start selling for like $10,000 a piece, and you're dead.
As long as it goes to my wife and the kids, I have no problem with that.
Like I now am the repositor, the owner of an entire art collection that I own with somebody else. It was willed to us by this very good female photographer who just never got known in her time, really did some very interesting stuff. It was more historical than a lot of things. I mean, it dealt with the tempo of the times, the zeitgeist, and I don't even know where to begin with it. What, do a gallery show?
I'm sorry.
Yeah, we're thinking of doing a gallery show. She left us $150,000 to use for I can actually go out and blow it on hookers if I want to, but.
Show them the pictures while you're doing it.
The gallery that turned me down was called like the Chelsea Gallery, so I don't know if you're familiar with that. So maybe you might want to go over there. But no, you remember Robert Mapplethorpe?
Yeah.
I was watching a documentary, and I think it was Gloria Allred. And I'm pretty sure it was Gloria Allred. It might not be her, but she was like, I knew Robert, and he gave me pictures all the time. I had stacks of his pictures before he became famous and before he died, and I had to move somewhere, and I threw them all away.
Didn't Mapplethorpe do one of my favorite pieces of art, the Piss Christ?
No, I don't.
I think that was the other guy.
No, that wasn't.
That wasn't Mapplethorpe.
That wasn't Mapplethorpe. No.
That was Sermano or something. Sermano.
Oh yeah. You're right.
Well, who was the guy?
Sereno.
I said Sermano. I'm sure I'm mispronouncing the name.
Yeah,
I'll look it up.
But he was like with Mapplethorpe because he did the thing called the Piss Christ.
Yeah.
And then Robert Mapplethorpe has sort of like the stuff with he was a wonderful photographer, but he took some stuff, and I mean, as much as I watch porn and all that, I'm not into gay porn except for lesbians, but it was like,
you're a male lesbian.
Yeah, geez.
And Andreas Serrano.
Right.
Serrano.
Yeah.
So now, but I'm having fun with the pictures thing. I'm glad I don't have to go to where the company I used to work for and report to the new sales manager they hired. I mean, that guy was just the biggest prick in the world. And it's like, I don't know how many tomorrows I have left, but you're not going to be part of them. So,
I like that.
And the wife is, not, complaining for me to go get a job. So
how are you supporting the family?
You mean how my wife's supporting the family?
Oh,
I mean, I'm doing these shows and all that.
Wait a minute.
I'm not going to.
You're like me. Your wife is working, right?
I mean, I sell stuff here. I mean, I've done some shows. Unfortunately, during the hurricane that came through here, canceled a bunch of shows. That kind of put a little monkey wrench into the works there. Mm-hmm. But I've done some shows where it makes some money, it helps pay the bills and all that. I mean, I just enjoy the shows because I love when the people come by and want to ask about particular pictures, the story behind them.
But wait a minute, let's get back to the fact. Your wife is working and supporting the family, right? Just like my wife is working. Do you feel like I do, like I'm a pimp?
They call him Max.
I mean, I have some days where I feel like, maybe this isn't working out. Maybe I need to go out and sell cars or something.
Well, I
really don't want to sell cars because I don't want to lie to people.
There are days I feel guilty about not working and giving money. Well, I mean, I do make money. I do have my Social Security and my SAG-AFTRA pension and things like that. So I do contribute, but I still wish that I could contribute like I used to, And
I'm in the same boat with you. I mean, even though the company I used to work for, I mean, they were cheap. I mean, it paid the insurance and paid some bills. And to be honest with you, I'm not really hurting that much since I've quit that company there. As I said, I mean, I'm not. It's not like my wife's paying all the bills. I'm making some stuff. I'm doing motorcycle restoration, stuff like that.
I mean, is she happy
here and there?
Is she happy to see you happy with the photography thing? I mean,
oh, she supports the hell out of me.
Well,
I couldn't do it without her.
Good.
Yeah, I mean, she goes to shows with me. She gives me advice. At times I turn around and the ink comes in that she bought for me. And I just got a new printer, and ink ain't cheap for that stuff. It takes 12 cartridges. It's like $60 a cartridge there, and I'm sure what Phil has is probably a hell of a lot better than I have.
No, mine only takes 9 cartridges, and they're $60 a cartridge.
What do you have?
I have a Epson 800. Wait a minute, Epson.
It's
3800.
It's a $60 cartridge.
No, each cartridge is 9 of them.
$60.
Cost me $500 and something bucks to change the ink.
Probably cost like $9 to refill.
Well, I'll tell you something.
Yeah, and I got
12.
And my old copier, my old printer took 8.
Okay,
which
well,
was like $20. I had a Canon Pro 100.
This is getting to be a boring.
It printed really good, and then I got a Canon Pro 1000, which takes. I can print up larger pictures.
This is getting to be a boring. This is getting to be a boring discussion. Hey, how much you paying for?
Sorry.
But I will tell you can buy cheaper ink.
Not for these.
Oh yes, you can. I have an Epson here, and I get much cheaper ink for it.
You get compatible ones there.
So.
Yeah. This is specifically for photographs.
You don't
print anything else.
Mine's specifically for photographs too.
Yeah.
But Alex, if you go to my Facebook page, I got my regular Facebook page, and then I got also one called Decaying Doug Photos. You see a picture you like, you tell me a P.O. box, and I will send you a copy of the picture there.
Oh, I'm up to my ass in pictures with the ones this woman took. Yeah. But thank you.
Yeah,
thank you. I don't know where I would put it. Our walls are filled with art right now. A lot of it girlfriends, a lot of it stuff she bought over the years. So, and we have a big apartment, but I don't know where we put another photograph. So.
Well, if you happen to see one you like, and you just let me know.
Great,
I'll send it gratis, postage and everything.
So how you doing, Brian? How's your evening going tonight?
Yeah, I'm just looking at this thing here. You want to talk about irony? saying here, Scott Walker passed a law blocking candidates who lost by more than 1% to demand a recount. And last night, or election night, he lost by, apparently he lost by 1.2 percentage points.
No recount for him.
No.
Can you see those ink cartridges?
Well, we don't care, Phil.
They
look like my ink. They look like my ink cartridges.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was going to say versus the color drums for color laser jet. What is an inkjet of higher quality by virtue?
It allows you to create more archivable.
I only say that because with the color laser jet, the ink never dries up, and they don't seem to stiff you as much as, although they still do, obviously. But.
Yeah, it seems as all of the
that's what I use.
The photo printers use inkjet.
Yeah. Okay, are we through with that now?
Yeah.
Are we through with that topic? Yawn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No more for me.
Good for you. See, he's very manageable now. He's relaxed. Doug is.
Yeah, well, he's not on the road.
Do you mind if I ask you a question? I hope it doesn't bring up a bad subject or anything. I hope it doesn't get me banned again. But your former partner... I'm sorry?
Brian is
banned
the first time.
Oh, 5 times.
Doug got...
Listen, I deserved to get banned. I was being purely over-the-top obnoxious. And so... So I'm trying to control that.
He's the only guy
but
actually...
now, your former partner crime that used to share the airwaves with you, he seems like kind of like disappeared. Do you know anything, whatever happened, or do you want to talk about it? If you don't want to talk about it,
well, I don't know who you're talking about.
He's probably referring
he's from Canada.
Oh, Revelstoke Jim.
Yeah.
I have no idea what's happened to him, to be honest with you.
I go on his Facebook page. And he proclaims himself a public figure. Now I knew when he was on there, he hated me. I mean, actually, one of the times.
He hated more than he hated more than you.
Me,
Phil. Oh, he hated Phil.
So you're like
so. Well, I think he hated everybody except for Patrick and Miranda. I mean, and especially the way he treated you on his last show, and then he tried to compete against you. The same amount, where it's like, man, what a dick. I mean, I was banned from your show about me. I was,
Doug, yeah. I'd let dead dogs lie.
Yeah, I would let dead dogs lie. I don't want to say anything bad about Jim, and really, he hasn't really done anything that I know of.
Well, yeah, that's why I noticed. Like you go on Facebook, he never posts anything, but he's a public figure. I feel like saying, "Hey, dude, you called me an asshole on the air there, and now you call yourself a public figure."
Again, let dead dogs lie. But all I have to say is that I felt that Jim did a show here in the beginning that was one of the most original, exciting pieces of internet broadcasting I've ever heard. Okay. And as the time went on, somehow it started to kind of get sour. Something went wrong. I don't know whether it was his health or what it was. And then eventually he kind of turned on me, But in the beginning, I would sit here and just I would call him up and say, I wish I was as good as you are. And he said, come on.
No, I heard you say it all the time. You praised him all the time.
Yeah. And that early work, which, by the way, if you've got Roku, you can hear on Roku. We still have some of those programs archived and are running them on Roku. You hear some of those early shows, especially the Adventure Night shows, and they were spectacular. They were spectacular, And yeah.
As I said, the only reason I'm saying, and I'm not going to go deep diving into it, but what just got me was just he was a liar. And as I said, when he told you to ban me because I was leaving him constant Facebook messages, insulting him and all that, I wasn't. I got better things to do in my life.
I don't even remember all that stuff going on.
He did. He did. And it's just sort of like, I didn't do that. You're a liar.
Let me put it this way. The only thing that I consider unfinished with Jim was I still don't know why he left. Okay? I don't know. And I have no idea. All I know is one day he was here and the next day he wasn't. you know. And then Miranda quit right after he did. But we've gotten along fine. This is, what, almost 3 years later, maybe?
Yeah, it's been a little while ago. But as I said, I was just kind of wondering because it seemed like whatever he was doing hasn't really taken off or anything. So,
Doug, I'd like to change the subject because I think this makes some people uncomfortable.
What, the printers?
No. The gym thing. So anyway,
no more for me.
Jeff is on now, and Jeff has a pacemaker, and I understand that there's been a thing where people have been hacking these pacemakers and so forth, and now they haven't done it to anyone but
how do you hack a pacemaker, and what do you make it do if you hack it? Do you make it act like a liver?
Well, there are certain there's a company that has these pacemakers and other things. I can't remember the name of the company. It was just yesterday or this morning that I heard the news about it. It was on CBSN, and they were saying that these hackers have been able to hack medical devices. And because many of them were designed 20 years ago when hacking wasn't a issue, it's putting certain things at risk. And one of the medical device companies, I'll probably have to look it up, but it was one that I think you had mentioned in the past.
Well, turn on
you're muted.
You're muted.
Jeff.
You're muted, Jeff. Unmute yourself. Yeah.
Yeah. Was it Medtronic or?
It might have been.
Scientific.
No, I don't think it was Boston Scientific. I think it was Medtronic.
Yeah, Medtronic is probably one of the oldest.
Yeah. So so these hackers actually hacked into it and were able to change things. So they found the vulnerability in these things.
Yeah, but they're normally designed to be able to do it. For example, I had an MRI today.
Yeah.
And one of the things that if you want to have an MRI, you really have to turn your pacemaker off. So that's the same thing that you're asking about.
Well, yeah, but you turned it off on purpose.
The nurse in the place did it, and I just sat there and watched her do it. Right. And it seemed like a pretty simple software change.
Yeah, what they're saying is that there are people out there that can turn your pacemaker off without your permission.
Yeah, but my question is, forget about that, okay? Yeah. Jeff, if suddenly somebody turns your pacemaker off, like they turn your pacemaker off when you got in the MRI machine, right?
Right.
What? Do you feel anything? Is there anything different with your heart, or it just hasn't got a pacemaker?
I didn't notice it.
In other words,
I didn't notice it, but I was just laying down there anyway.
I mean, there's no danger if your pacemaker stops of you dying necessarily because the pacemaker has stopped.
I mean, theoretically, yes.
Okay.
But it didn't happen for me, and I've had it at least 2 times where they've shut it down for, extensively, which is maybe 20 minutes or something.
Okay.
Okay. When I go to see the cardiologist, they turn it off all the time.
Yeah.
And they want to turn it off and turn it on and make sure it's fully functional.
And they can do that all from the outside, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everything.
But you don't want some 400-pound guy in New Jersey doing it.
Well, don't worry.
Sitting on his bed.
Don't worry. He may be getting a job as the Attorney General. So
he's only 375.
He's on diet.
Yeah, I can't believe how big he's got. I thought he had like that, band put around the stomach there. I guess that thing must have broke.
Yeah, something like that.
It's a band that stretches.
My God, that ass of his probably has 2 zip codes. So goddamn big.
Yeah.
One for each cheek. Who are we talking about?
We're talking about.
Have you seen it?
Jersey governor
Chris Christie.
Chris Christie.
Chris
Christie. There.
There are 2 people that are being touted as the next possible nominee for AG. They both had meetings with him. One of them, of course, is Chris Christie. The other one is Rudy Giuliani. Can you think of 2 worse choices?
Now, there's somebody else, too, and I can't recall the name.
There was a former AG. Yeah,
Yeah.
and there was a former AG, Roth or somebody. I don't remember. They had just talked about it.
I want to say like Ackworth or something like that was another one.
Those were the two that I heard, but you know, anyway. I don't think Christie would pass muster with a committee, to be honest with you.
Well, the way he fucked over Jared Kushner's dad.
No,
yeah.
well, forget that. Forget that. I mean, that we could all cheer that he had his father arrested.
Oh, I know, I agree, but I'm saying how vindictive that administration is, and by proxy.
No, but what I'm saying is he has to pass muster with a Senate committee, or is it congressional committee in this case? I think it's
Senate.
Senate, I believe. But he, you know, because of that whole bridge controversy, all of that kind of stuff, he's got a little too much questionable behavior in his background. And Giuliani would have to absolutely recuse himself because of all the things that he said defending him vis-a-vis Russia. And that kind of thing is something you recuse yourself from the investigation so that you can't be a part of it. But he wouldn't do that, you know.
I see an article here.
That's one of Trump's requirements.
Yes, is that you are not going to recuse yourself. And the thing is, if you've made statements like this guy, what's his name, Whitaker? What's the current temporary AG? Yeah. He made a lot of comments on television where this thing was concerned, and that would be a reason for you to recuse yourself. You just do that.
And he said he's not going to.
Right. And so, you know, they say that this may be very much an illegal appointment.
The Dems would like to see everyone recuse themselves. Well, there's 8 potentials according to this article.
Nobody. If he found somebody who had not made a single comment on how he felt about the Russia investigation, then that guy would not have to recuse himself because he had not made previous statements to that.
Well, Vladimir Putin did say he had nothing to do with it. Yeah, the 8 Chris Christie, Giuliani, Ted Cruz, Chuck Grassley, Rod Rosenstein, Chris Kobach, Trey Gowdy, and Pam Bondi. Pam Bondi, I think, was the Attorney General in Florida.
These are a bunch of numbnuts.
And she won't pass because, I mean, Trump gave her like a big donation, and then somehow she dropped, you know, the case about the Trump University. So we're like, okay, well, just drop it now. So I mean, that would definitely come up.
I thought she was good looking. I would have given her a donation too.
Good.
Well, there's a lot of good-looking people out there.
Good Republican sexist,
Attorney
Phil.
General.
Good Republican sexist.
Sexist.
Yeah.
Have you seen any good movies lately, Alex?
Wait a minute. Don't change the subject. That's what you always do. You were on a subject and then you change it.
Well, I was just. I know you're big into movies.
No, I haven't seen any good movies lately.
I don't think there are any.
There aren't any.
Yeah,
well, I saw that one that had Jeff Bridges like trouble at some bar or whatever, and I would recommend just wait for that thing to show up on Netflix or whatever.
Yeah, I'll steal it.
Too long, boring.
I'll steal it.
Exactly. Steal that motherfucker.
The American way.
There's some films that deserve to be stolen, you know.
Anyone that dares charge you that you can't otherwise watch on television for free anyhow can be stolen. Should be stolen.
Yeah, I've given a lot of money to the movie industry over the years. Okay, let me just say that. I mean, the one that I stole was I went to a theater to go see that last thing about the thing that was done by the person who did Harry Potter.
Was that the Lady Gaga thing?
No, Harry Potter woman who she wrote a movie.
Skilling or
no. They just came out. They're just coming out with the sequel of it, but it was like Creatures of something. And I went to see it, and it was supposed to be in 3D, and it wasn't.
It wasn't. You talking about the Shape of Water?
I paid 3D prices, and everybody in the theater had their 3D glasses on. And I was the only one that complained that it wasn't in 3D. And then I dragged the manager up to the theater and said, "Here, is that in 3D?" And they went, "No." I said, well, what are you going to do about it? And he said, we can't do anything about it. The picture's already started. So do you want your? I said, do you want your money back? I said, yeah. They said, do you want a ticket to a future film? And I said, not if it's projected as badly as this one. I said, and plus the fact that, you know, I want to be able to assign my seat and all of that ahead of time, and I don't want to have to come into the theater with these passes, right? So he said, well, let me see if I can find the money. They didn't seem to have cash around the place. Now, and so what I finally did was I stole that movie in 3D because I just said, well, actually, I went back. We went back the next week and actually saw it in 3D, and then finally I just stole it and said, I deserve
Do you have a 3D
movie.
TV, Alex?
Yeah. And
they don't make those as much anymore.
then Black Panther, the screen was too dark and you couldn't see anything. And it wasn't just dark because the people in it were. It was dark on top of the fact that the people who in it were. And so you really couldn't see anything, just these eyeballs running around, right? And I go down to the manager. Nobody's complaining. Nobody's complaining. And I say, look at the screen. I said, he said, well, it's a dark movie.
You had a special one because it was all done in blackface.
Hold on a second.
That's why they were dark.
No. So then I said, come to the next theater, okay? Where it was playing, it was just about a half hour earlier, okay, but it was playing. And we went into that theater, and I said, now look at the screen. And he went, yeah, I guess you're right. But there's nothing we can do about it because we can't restart the film.
Yeah, Phil, when he said, when Alex read in the beginning credits that it was a Jolson Films Pictures production, I should have paid giveaway.
But
babe,
that one, when it came out at home, I found it online in 3D. I downloaded it. Fuck it. I paid good money for that film.
I don't blame you.
And I got this just, you couldn't see the picture. It was terrible.
I'm afraid to use torrents and to download stuff. You know, I don't want to screw up my computer. You know, I don't know what's going to be safe and what isn't going to be safe.
You got to know what you're doing. I have never in all the time that I have downloaded stuff, and I guess I'm admitting to a crime here, but it's TV. And that has happened. And the reason I do TV, and the reason I do TV is they got commercials in them anyway. They put these things out for free to begin with.
Exactly.
And I started to do it when I was getting lousy cable service, and it was glitching constantly, and I wanted to see my shows, and the only place I could see my shows is if I downloaded them illegally.
Well, wasn't there a service out of like Sweden or something that got they all got arrested and they closed it down? It was Ship or something. It was one that was quite popular, and it was a torrent site.
There were several of them that have been closed down from time to time.
Well, this one was very popular. It was starting to get used by the mainstream people like me.
Well, if some of them get really well known, and other ones keep a very low profile.
Okay. Yeah, and so after that one got taken down, I stopped using any of those.
But I usually pay for most of my movies, and I don't really download films that much. I was always very reluctant to. The only time I ever did it was some of these titles where I got a lousy showing of it, and I felt I was owed the film.
Yeah.
And when you go to a movie and you pay, what is it? For the two of us, it comes to, because we get senior tickets, and if it's a 3D film at the comfy chair, it's $42. And then it costs me another $25 round trip to take a cab to the theater.
What, do you bring your own popcorn?
And then, that's something you can't do. And that is something that's always pissed me off. You should be able to bring your own popcorn if you want to. But if you brought in your own popcorn and your own snacks, you got them down the street or something, if they notice you bringing them in, they tell you, sorry, you can't bring those in. Why? Because I have to buy them from you?
I went to a theater that had a Starbucks next door. and I bought the big Starbucks with all of this and that and the other thing. It must have been $6, and so I'm drinking it, and I'm going into the theater, and they said you can't bring that in. I said you don't have coffee, So it's I drank it before I went in.
Yeah, but if you come in with popcorn, they will tell you turn around and leave.
Right. That's what they told me with the Starbucks.
That's why you wear big pocket.
Well,
big coats.
you know
I
something?
think popcorn was like, I think the large, when I went, it was like $10.
Oh, yeah.
For a tub.
Oh, yeah. Actually, the
And
box.
like $8 for a large drink.
By the way.
But you can get a refill thing,
and
I would make them refill it even if I didn't want it.
The popcorn box. The popcorn box.
The popcorn is usually kind of horrible anyway.
Put it in the fridge,
Hold on a second. The popcorn box costs them more than the popcorn itself.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I would get the sweetened popcorn that I'm not supposed to have. I forget what they call it. It's not regular popcorn.
Caramel corn.
No, it's like a candied corn.
I know.
It's sweet.
Yeah.
I'll look at the AMC theater and see.
I don't know what movie theater
Phil,
you're going
next
to.
time you think about doing that again,
plain and buttered.
next time you plan on doing that again, Phil, just look in the mirror, okay?
Thanks.
But I mean, I don't think you should really steal movies. I think that's wrong, and I've made it a policy not to do that, except on rare exceptions where I've decided I got ripped off by the theater and I want to see the movie.
Yeah, it's like going 5 miles over the speed limit or 20 miles over the speed limit or more. You're still going over the speed limit, as far as I'm concerned. So we disagree on this.
Well, you could say you disagree, but why do you disagree? If I went to a movie and I got a bad showing of that movie and I just spent $42 to see that film and got a shitty presentation, why shouldn't I download that thing and watch it watch it? It's not for free because I paid $42.
I also told you that I torrent too, but I torrent simply for the sake that I can torrent.
No,
and you're doing the same thing. You're taking advantage of the same.
I will admit that. I mean, and I torrent TV shows, but I really find I'm doing that less and less because I have like Hulu without commercials, and so most of the shows I'd want to watch on regular television, I can get that way. There's several other services that I subscribe to without commercials. So
it's
I
time
find
consuming, and it takes up space in your hard drive too.
Yeah, so
there's a reason why I rely more on Hulu now, because I have Hulu now and Netflix.
But do you have Hulu without? Do you have Hulu without the commercials?
Correct.
Yeah, because that's.
But still, whether you do 5 miles over the speed limit or 20 miles, that's my reason why we disagree. By the way, this is my reason.
Well,
because I believe that if you're doing 5 or 20 miles over the speed limit or 200 miles over the speed limit, you're still going over the speed limit.
Well, no, if you're going 2 miles
and
over
if a cop wants to pull you over, he'll pull you over.
If you're going 2 miles over the speed limit, your chances of killing somebody are less than if you're going 100 miles over the speed limit.
But if a cop is being a prick, or if he's pulling
especially all the cops that pass you without their blues on,
regardless.
Yeah,
going way over the speed limit.
Yeah,
just like a service provider would used to.
Anyway,
they haven't yet.
Let me just say to the audience: do not steal movies. That is wrong. If you want to steal television shows, hey, they're free in the first place. That's my feeling on it.
Here's today's lesson.
Go to YouTube.
It's only cheating if you get caught.
Yeah, and the fact is, it's amazing how much of this stuff, literally pirated old TV shows, okay, are on YouTube.
Yeah.
And YouTube.
And music.
Yeah. So, but all I'm saying is that, with the TV shows, they don't make them that available to you after the fact. Although there are ways you can do it now. If you've got, you can get the CW online, and you can get Fox online, and you can get a lot of these networks online, and you can watch the shows there. You have to watch them with commercials, because as opposed to when you do them on your DVR, you can't speed through the commercials if they're online. But certainly there are a lot of ways you can do it without pirating. So that's all I'm saying. And I'm joking about the amount to which I pirate or take torrents and so on.
Kettle corn.
Oh boy,
it's kettle corn.
It's amazing how things come out of context all of a sudden. Kettle corn.
Yeah, Orville Redenbacher's kettle corn.
Yeah,
I can get it at the AMC Theater.
It's not. I don't know if they add that much sugar to kettle corn. What do they do to kettle corn? It's a little different.
It's enough,
but it's sweeter.
I don't like it.
Sweeter. It's sweeter, but it isn't like caramel corn sweet.
Right.
Yeah.
It just has a hint of sugar on it.
Yeah.
And that's why I don't like it, because it's one of those things in my brain. Popcorn is either supposed to be salty or buttery, and that's it.
Yeah.
Well, I like the kettle corn.
Both.
Yeah.
Buttery and salty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And hot.
Oh, right. All of that. And so in my brain, when I've had kettle corn, it sends a signal like, well, this is fucked up.
Yeah.
Well, what I love is at the theaters, they don't serve butter. They serve butter flavoring.
Yeah.
They don't serve butter. And I like popcorn with butter, but girlfriend absolutely will not eat it with that substance, that Pennzoil that comes from a pump at the movie theater.
Well, that's interesting because Kavanaugh likes beer. You like butter, and he likes beer.
Why'd you have to bring up Kavanaugh? Do you want to ruin my fucking day?
Of course. And Ruth Bader
He also
Ginsburg.
likes gagged pussy.
You say
Trump,
you make any joke about Ruth Bader Ginsburg, and I'm gonna punch you through the internet.
Do you know how she got hurt?
She fell down.
No, Trump pushed her.
Mm-hmm. Hope you're doing all right, Patrick.
You could hear a pin drop.
Yeah, you could hear a pin drop on that.
I think he liked it.
Crickets were chirping.
Yeah.
Oh, you liked it because you're the only one smiling.
You're the only one smiling.
You were all smiling.
No, we weren't smiling.
You just could imagine.
I was smiling at Alex's reaction. Is what I was smiling at.
In your imagination, Phil, was I smiling anybody? I don't think so.
That's why I was smiling at you, Alex.
Oh, yeah, I was laughing.
Your reaction.
On the inside, Alex.
Priceless.
Yeah.
Anyway.
He couldn't believe I said it, that's why.
She's going to be fine, though, right?
She's got a bruised rib.
She broken ribs.
No, she has some broken ribs, if I'm not
more years.
mistaken.
Yeah, but that's easily taken care of. Yes, Patrick.
I need to derail this whole thing because I was busy with something else. Why are you not at the theater?
Oh, because the show was canceled, but we didn't find out till today. It was canceled last week.
Oh, and I saw your post again today.
Yeah.
And just reminded me that Jack was going to be on. I'll be on with Jack for like 3 hours then. And then I ended up getting busy with something, and then I came on late here, and I heard you, and then I'm thinking maybe Jack didn't do it. It's a rerun, and then you were talking about current events, so I just was curious. So.
Yeah.
I like the reason that he found out that it was not showing is that they had a 2-drink minimum, and he wanted to know if he could get around that.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it wasn't a matter of getting around it.
Well, you didn't want to have to drink the 2 drinks.
This was a place that is actually, it's a theater, but it's also a nightclub. And it has a 2-drink minimum, but we didn't know if we had to pay a 2-drink minimum since we were paying for the tickets, which were $85 a piece, and we didn't think they should. And so she just
What show was that?
Oh, I don't want to go into it again. But she went into what do you call it? She asked them about it and phoned up to ask them about it, and they said the show was closed last week. And then she looked to check, and her credit card, the money had already come back to the credit card, but nobody got a hold of us. Nobody said that we could have gone down there, and it would, it was.
What's showing? What is actually showing tonight?
I don't know what's there. I have no idea. We didn't go down there to find out.
Ticket. I mean, it must be some show.
Yeah. So apparently it was a failure of a show because, at $85 a ticket, they should have been making money. Anyway.
Well, fortunately for me, I went and saw concert. I haven't been to a concert in decades. Last real concert I went to was Ramones when Dee Dee was still alive.
Mm-hmm.
That was back in the 80s. And a friend of ours gave us some tickets to go see George Thorogood about 3 weeks ago. And went to it, and just great show. But it's funny when you watch like some of these older groups and you watch the audience and they all look like they're all grandmas and grandpas, which I do too. It's sort of like, oh boy, here I am and part of that crowd.
Yeah.
And then when they wear tie-dye shirts along with being in that crowd,
there were some with tie-dye shirts and bald people with what do you call it? Ponytails.
Yeah, a lot of that.
It's like, dude, you're bald. Accept it. Nobody's going to think you have long hair because you have a ponytail.
Right.
But he put on a good show, though. It was really good to go see him, and those were like $80 tickets that the guy gave us there, and I was like, well, thank you very much. So.
Yeah. So anyway.
Good to have friends.
Let me see here. So that's what happened with the theater. We didn't go, and so I made the decision. I called up Jack and I said, "Do you want to? If you're looking towards doing the show tonight, you're welcome to still do it, And he said, "Well, I had a bad night last night, and if you can do it, I'd be happy if you did it." And so I said, okay, I'll do it, and that's why I'm here tonight. And I'm just as glad because I don't know if I could just sit here around the house with the show going on and me not doing it, It would.
So Jack's not on tonight?
So Jack's on at midnight.
Later.
At midnight, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but he was going to do 3 hours tonight, my show and then his show, so, Anyway.
Yeah, I was wondering how you were able to put Steve Pearl, how he would have been able to put the Steve Pearl thing on, and
he wouldn't have.
No, he wouldn't have. That's why I'm listening and I'm saying.
Oh, I see. Okay, yeah. Hello, Kevin. How are you?
Good evening. How are you doing?
Fine. So listen, in the news. To begin with, let's go back to that press conference yesterday. That was just horrendous. The more I look at it, the most embarrassing act by a president I've ever seen in the history of the United States of America.
He was keeping the intern from being pushed over by an aggressive news person.
I'm sorry, I knew you were going to bring that up, Phil, and I did something just for you.
Corey Lewandowski took a lot of heat just because he brushed by somebody.
Wait a minute, hold on a second. I'm going to show the people the picture. This is all that went on. He barely touched her arm. Okay, see that, folks?
I didn't think he touched her at all, that she touched him.
Well, she touched him. Wait a minute. Now, hold on a second. If you look at the photo, Phil, which it'll probably become
go to YouTube.
It'll probably be coming up on YouTube shortly. She is doing more pushing than he is. He simply touched her arm briefly to prevent her from pushing on his arm. But that was more a brush than it was anything else. And I don't know what video you've seen of it, Phil, but what you probably saw was the edited version by Alex Jones.
Yeah.
No, I saw the truthful version.
No, the Alex Jones version is the version. Wait a minute, the version that Sarah Huckabee was showing.
No.
You're
off a couple of frames.
No, I'm not.
This picture is a couple of frames.
That is the most.
After.
That's the most. No, that's the early. That's the first contact. No. And wait a minute. Hold on a second. I'm telling you. Yeah. I know. I did it. Okay, I took it, and I had a choice of that or another frame that was his hand was a little bit lower. But that is the most that his hand ever touched her.
Yeah,
but you got to remember, she went.
If you want to look at Sarah Huckabee's picture of it, a video of it, she took the thing from Alex Jones and InfoWars. No. Okay, their edited version of it.
you should see the video of it, not
no,
a still photo.
Okay, well, I could play the video here.
If you play the video, you'll see that.
But the trouble is, what I can't do is I can't go back and forth on it. It would just go by, and you'd see it too fast. That is the first of about 3 frames that I could have taken of his hand on her shoulder, and that was it. It was only for about 3 frames.
Yeah, no. If you would have taken the next frame, it would have been the one where he belted her across the forehead.
No, he didn't do anything. He just basically she grabbed him. If you notice, she's grabbing him, and he is simply repelling that with a slight brush of his hand. Yes, Patrick, and then Brian.
The video was just on. I've got Fox on because Shannon Bream's on, and I'm getting ready to whack off to her. But anyway, they just showed the video, the entirety of the video, and she's doing her job by going to get the microphone, which makes her touch him, and he kind of, well, it looked like he kind of pushed her back in that sense of, don't touch me, I want the microphone, and that's it. There was no, I didn't see.
Well, he was in the process of talking, and she tried to pull the microphone away from him.
Yeah, he wasn't finished.
He wasn't.
The president of the United States told her to.
Right, it was his job, but
you
didn't do anything that would any more than any of us would have, which is just kind of pull it back because I'm not done talking. And that, I mean, I think the president overreacted. I don't personally like Jim Acosta because I think he's an arrogant fuck. But most of those pricks in there are, because they get the White House pass, so they think they're all God too. So I don't put him any different than the rest. But
he doesn't have it anymore.
Yeah, but that's bullshit. To get rid of it for an incident that really didn't do anything, and then him flapping his gums, you're a terrible person. He could have stopped at, let me be president, you run CNN, and if you were doing any better, if you did a good job, you'd have better rating. He could have ended it there by adding, you're a terrible person. He didn't do anything that was terrible.
I thought it was Sanders that said that. Oh, wait a minute. He said
it was the president who
mistreated Sanders.
Okay, let's go.
He was a terrible person.
Shit. Sarah Sanders is a fucking adult, and she can handle herself, and she's shown that. That woman had more balls than most of the men that I've met to deal with things. He didn't need to say that, and he didn't need to say it in that. He could have said, you could be more respectful to her. But a terrible person, it just, that vindictive bullshit.
Did they do this kind of behavior during Obama's press conferences?
Never.
No, because he wasn't ornery like that.
Because he wasn't. Yeah, he wasn't ornery like that. And his press people. His press people.
No, he had congressmen that called him liars during the State of the Union address.
Yeah, you lied, Joe Wilson.
Yeah.
You can keep
lie, boy, because that's what he was getting at.
You can keep
but let's forget for a moment this incident with Acosta, although he should not lose his press credentials, because the idea that anybody would lose their press credentials because the president didn't agree with the questions he was being asked.
I don't think that was the thing. It was his behavior in there. But he was
you know something? Phil. You know what that was, Phil? Phil, what that was, Phil.
He didn't even answer the first question.
Phil, what that was, hold on a second.
You asked me something like that.
Okay, Doug.
I tell you, the worst thing was Sean Hannity.
Hold on a second, Doug.
Doug!
Hold on.
Doug, wait a minute.
Jeez almighty, Doug.
Don't
listen.
Get yourself banned.
Sorry.
The thing that Phil fails to recognize is that the press has a job to do. And I think what you saw yesterday in that room, and I like what Peter Alexander did after he was through by saying, I know Acosta. He is a respected and good reporter and is not doing fake news or whatever. I mean, he defended him, and I thought that was terrific. All right.
And what does Trump say? Like, I'm not.
But
I'm
wait a minute.
against you
What we
too, or
didn't
something?
get into is what went on later with the black reporter from PBS.
Oh yeah, yeah.
She was talking when somebody else had the floor.
No, but finally when she got on, and she asked him a question about his term, saying that he was a nationalist, and does this not give safety and refuge to the Nazi party here in America, who call themselves white nationalists? He said, "You're a racist."
Yeah, there was a racist thing because he's saying that his position on that and being a nationalist has nothing to do with race.
Phil, come on. Geez, this was the worst I've ever seen anybody lose his cool. To think that this man has his finger on the button, the nuclear button, with that kind of temper? Yes, Patrick.
Alright. We've been through this before. He doesn't have his finger on the button. There's a lot of different layers before he could do anything. And I'll tell you what, even his closest sycophants that are licking his asshole, if he on a tirade like that and said, we're going to nuke wherever, they would be smart enough to say, no, we're not going to, or, okay, Mr. President, and then go and make sure that nobody fucking does
Stories have been told that they've had to talk him down from that.
Well, and that may be true, and and that's fine. I mean, at least he got intelligent people in there to talk him down.
Yeah, but every day when he fires some of them, they're less and less there.
He doesn't have his finger on the button. He has his grip on the pussy. So, that's...
But then he said he had a big
Again,
button
Phil is laughing at his own jokes because somebody has to.
I could use my laugh track, but I don't have it plugged in.
In other words, he's doing a Michael Jackson, Phil. He's grabbing himself because he's his own biggest pussy then.
No. It refers to his tape.
See, that got a laugh.
No, I didn't see the laugh.
That's how you tell a joke.
No, I didn't see any laughing.
It all has to do with timing, Phil.
Well, Patrick did. He cracked a smile.
Yeah,
no.
Hey,
he passed gas.
Alex, I got to go because I'm on this hotel phone. And I just realized they charge like outrageous rates. So I just,
Okay.
Thanks for allowing me on.
Nice talking to you, Doug.
Hello to you. Have a great holiday season and everybody else there.
Nice to hear from you. I've never heard from you before.
Yeah.
I've been doing this for
maybe you hear from me again.
Can I ask Doug one question now that you got him on? How come you're using that blue filter on all your photos now?
A what?
It's like a blue filter. You're colorizing stuff.
Oh, I'm colorized. I mean, I'm not using any blue filter. I'm just using a standard lens there. I don't have any filters on it or anything like that.
No. Yeah, it's just that
it's
there
called,
seems to be...
in case you don't know, Phil, it's called color grading.
Yeah, I mean, I go crazy. I mean, I put a lot of contrast in my pictures because that's what I like. A lot of contrast, a lot of clarity, stuff like that really enhances the color. So,
all right.
I mean, but there's no. I'm not using.
All right, enough with Photoshop
or
again with photo class. So we don't want photo class going on here.
That's right.
Anyway,
go on Facebook, Gabnet Live, and you can do that.
Yeah.
It's a group.
Right.
Yeah.
But nice talking to y'all. Y'all take care.
Okay.
And y'all have a great
See
night.
you, Doug.
Bye-bye, Doug.
Bye-bye.
Okay.
Adios.
Thank you, Doug. Nice to hear from him,
He was a good boy tonight.
Upon occasion, it's nice to hear from him, So anyway, be that as it may, the fact that he lost his cool like that, you don't want to see that in a president, because you want to see him be able to keep his temper and to let coolness reign. I mean, at one point he turned around and started walking away. I mean, he was that unhinged. A president should have a little better demeanor than that. The rest of us can be assholes. He's expected to have a little dignity. But, let's bring up another. Oh, yes, Jeff. What?
I was going to remind you that several times he said to take him off, get him out of here.
Yeah,
move him, take him off.
At least he didn't say punch him.
I thought he was close.
It was close.
Almost.
It was close, and I think the press associations are asking for him to get his press credentials back. But if he doesn't, here you have a president who's going to start taking away press credentials from anybody that asks him a question that might be embarrassing to answer. Okay. Let me bring up another topic, and this is a sad one. We had yet another gun situation today. This time in Thousand Oaks, California, country bar, 11 people dead, and 12 if you include the person who did the shooting. What makes this doubly sad is that because this was a country bar, a lot of the people who were in this bar were also people who were at the shooting in Las Vegas earlier.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. Because it was country music again, this is, I think, something like the 320th mass murder death this year.
Yep.
When are we going to start asking some questions here?
When Wayne LaPierre gets a chunk of his skull blown off live on air when trying to stick up for NRA gun fanatics, that's when. Possibly when.
Yeah.
That is unless, of course, he, repairs his fractured skull wound and continues his speech Rain Man style on account of all the brain damage he has sustained.
Yeah. Now, my question is, what do we do about this? Here's the thing. If I had a kid and he misused his toys, I would stop him from using his toys until he learned how to use them properly. I just think it's time we start clamping down on this. It's just getting too pervasive, and it's not like these are rare, isolated incidences that have been happening, and we go, oh my God, this is terrible. This has gotten to the point where the news only devoted 15 minutes today at the top of each hour because we're so used to it happening.
There were six off-duty police officers, I understand, that were in that bar, and none of them had guns.
Well, wait, what does that have to do with it, Phil? We're talking about the fact. No, we're not talking about the fact. Wait a minute. We're not talking.
It's a soft target.
No, but you had the cops showing up. And one of them got killed trying to save these people.
The first people that he walked in and saw were the security guards, and they took them out right away.
And they were unarmed.
No.
Yes, the security guards were unarmed. The CHP officer.
Regardless, if they were unarmed, they probably would have been taken out anyway.
Yeah, the sheriff's officer that showed up, 29-year veteran, he was shot, and as soon as he entered the premises. Now, this guy was military trained.
But with all of that, he didn't manage to take the guy out, did he?
Right. And
no, not the cop. I'm talking about the shooter was military trained. I don't know why he did it.
So was this policeman.
Well, no, the policeman was,
yes, he was.
He was a sheriff. He was
a sheriff. He was trained.
No, but I think he had also had time in the service as well.
I know, but the shooter was a recent. He was a Marine.
Okay, so what are you saying, Phil? We train our murderers now?
Well, this guy was trained, and he went off the deep end.
Do, actually.
They don't go off the deep end, Phil. The problem is we haven't learned how to create a turn-off switch. We send them out there. Wait a minute. Hold on. Listen to me. We send them out there. We tell them, you got to kill the enemy. And so all they do is they kill the enemy, and they kill the enemy, and they kill the enemy. Now they come home, and nobody says, oh, now that behavior is not right now. And there's no off switch. That's the problem.
It's got to be something else, Alex.
No, it isn't. No, it isn't. Don't give me.
You had guys that were in some of the bloodiest battles that ever existed to modern man, and these people came back, got jobs, and weren't killing everybody.
They didn't kill with the same lethality as the equipment that they are armed with when they go to Afghanistan today. They had rifles that had one bullet at a time.
some of these guys,
No,
I mean, they were
Phil.
in battles where there was, you can't look at those battles and not say that they should have had PTSD. And
yes, Patrick.
I do have to tell you, Alec, you're wrong. World War II, they had Tommy gun. They had very similar equipment to what we have now. A lot of the guns were very similar to M16. You have 50 caliber machine guns. You had hand grenades. You had flamethrowers. Some of the worst shit that ever happened in the Pacific, where you had guys with flamethrowers going after the Japanese. There's no difference in war. The difference is when they come home, and my grandpa was right in the middle of the shit in Burma, and he came home and got a job and went on with life. There was something different in that generation than what happened in Vietnam and what's happened now.
And even in Vietnam, there wasn't as many people coming out of Vietnam shooting up bars and doing these kinds of things. It's this Iraq, Afghanistan war that seems to have created more of this type of behavior, and I don't know why.
Well, to begin with, most of the people who have gone into these places and killed other people were not in the military. Okay, so the theory is only applicable to this particular situation.
Well, then most of them were playing these video games that...
no, video games. I play video games all the time, Phil.
Yeah.
Where I shoot people like crazy. I'm killing pixels, all right? And I know that, and most people who are playing...
So you know the difference between reality and
absolutely,
a video game.
And so do kids.
But there's a lot of people that don't.
No, there have been new reports now, medical studies, that have shown that video games have no impact on somebody being violent.
They don't.
Okay.
Speaking as someone who's played games since he was, 5, 6, or 7 years old.
If anybody was going to go out and take out a neighborhood, it'd be Brian. Yes, Jeff.
Well, you said Tony, too. So.
Yeah.
In addition to Patrick's, was that your father or your grandfather in World War II?
Grandpa.
Yeah. My first wife's dad was in World War II, and he came back with all kinds of medical and then psychological problems forever.
Sorry to hear that.
For his whole life.
I knew people. I knew. We had a neighbor.
He didn't kill anybody, but he could.
We had a neighbor up the hill who was a very well-known, one of the very well-known California photographer, very famous photographer, and he had been a photographer during World War II for the Army. And he was so damaged by the war that one 4th of July, we started blowing off firecrackers, and he was hiding under the bed. Okay? Yeah. He had shell shock into the time, and this was 5, 10 years, 5, 6, 7 years after the war was over.
But he didn't grab his camera and go shoot a bunch of people.
No, but he still had. But he still.
He was terrified for his life because it brought back psychedelic episodes from his past. That's why they have on Facebook memes and whatnot. That say, don't set off fireworks because it disturbs.
A lot of Vietnam veterans. A lot of Vietnam veterans had that same thing, but they weren't grabbing rifles and pistols and going in and shooting up everybody.
Well, but you're bringing this up. This is the only case where we've had somebody with PTSD.
I don't think it's the only case.
No, name another one, Phil.
No, I can't
name another one.
Right
no, you
can't
bat. Because they weren't.
All right, I'll look it up.
No, you. Okay, good. Well, at least it'll keep them busy, and we can do other stuff.
I have to say something about this.
Yes, Brian.
What I have to say is a reiteration of what I said, and you know what I said, but also unless my whole notion, I was a big fireworks person. I always find that people that are into them are kind of like chicken-hearted pyromaniacs. That having been said, however, if it should be policy.
I think it's a very brave person who risks their fingers. Okay.
Exactly. It should be policy that unless it's like a public venue, a concert or something where it's organized and, everything is strategically placed and, well planned in advance, you shouldn't be allowed to have them.
What? fireworks?
Fireworks.
Well, that was a minor part of this.
End in a neighborhood where my ears, or better yet,
okay, all right, but that was a minor part of that. That was not the point I was trying to make, Brian. The point I was trying to make is this guy was shell shocked, and I never heard of that kind of thing as a kid. And after that, I never blew off another firework again in my neighborhood.
A lot of things that people weren't aware of 60 years ago that we're more cognitively aware of today.
All I'm saying is that the big question is, what are we going to do about this? You know, and Patrick has always been for the use of the ability for people to bear arms, as it were. I'm just asking, what do we do about it? How do we start bringing the temperature down on this deal? Because there are far too many people who have been killed this year.
But I think owning a firearm should be as responsible as owning a car.
Phil has found one.
Or getting a license.
Actually, I found 43.
43 what?
43 of the worst mass killings since 1984 have been in the United States military. So these are people that are in the military, like that guy at Fort Hood and so forth.
But but these are in the military. These were people who were on bases at the time.
Yeah,
I asked you for people who went out and did mass killings, like of churches and of nightclubs and of concerts and things like that were had PTSD. Okay. And you didn't come up with that figure. You came up with something.
Here's one. This is the headline.
Of course, there's going to be more killing. There's going to be more killing on military bases because that's where the fucking guns are. You know. Yes, Patrick.
I was going to say, Phil, don't mean nothing because we go back to Me Lie, where we were killing innocent people in a village. I mean. I don't think that's necessary to keep going back to find 40 military related. You know, I mean, it just go back to the civilian world and leave it there.
Yeah.
All right, I'll do that for you.
Yeah, and you probably won't find any. Yeah,
I'm sure I'll find them.
Yeah.
That mass murderer Alex Bennett, he was in the military, wasn't he?
Oh, wow. Yes, Jeff.
In Vietnam, if you were shot 3 times, you were sent home.
Yeah. If you were shot 3 times, you mean you had to be shot 3 times and not be killed any of those 3 times. Hello, Bree. How are you?
Hello.
Now, where are you now? I've ceased to say, are you in Dubai, because you're a world traveler. Where are you tonight?
That's right. I'm in Dubai.
You're in Dubai. Okay, he's back there with the Burj Khalifa, which I have on my Apple TV as one of my screensavers, is a nighttime view of the Burj Khalifa. That is that is one beautiful fucking building.
Oh yeah. I never get tired of seeing it.
Yeah, yeah, and in fact, Dubai looks like the ultimate city of the future in its architecture and everything else. Really.
I heard something in the news that the Saudis were creating some difficulty for Dubai and some of the other countries.
Look at that.
What was it? Where did they just invade that they're bombing?
He's not listening to you. He's showing us pictures of Dubai.
That was from last night. I walk around the marina.
You
mean the Yemeni situation?
Yeah. And they were also saying that the Saudis were creating some sort of havoc in Dubai as well.
Are they?
Not that I'm aware of.
It was something I heard in passing.
Yeah.
No, I don't.
But anyway, I mean, the question is, and let's get back to that major question, and that is, what do we do about it? How do we bring down the temperature? This is getting to be all too frequent. And usually it's people who are suicidal to begin with who do these actions. So, how do we stop it? What do we do to prevent it? What is it in our society that causes this to happen and not to happen, say, in Canada to any appreciable extent?
they're not as mentally ill as the U.S. citizens.
I think you're probably right. You know, it's just that
we can agree on.
Yes, Patrick.
I think one of the things, and just to go back to the veterans, is I think we need to make seeking mental health counseling less of a stigma, and it becoming less of a stigma, because our VAs and that are taking care of our veterans better than they have with PTSD. But I think it has to be for the rest of society as well, that if somebody is going and they're seeking help for depression or something like that, it should not be held against them as some sort of a stigma, because they should be lauded for seeking help to, make their life better. And I think, like you said, a lot of these people have been suicidal, and they may feel that going for help shows that they're less of a person, or that they're weaker, or whatever, and that needs to be turned around.
I'm not sure that these people understand that they need help. I think it's incumbent on the people around them to recognize that they need help.
Also, I think the problem here, Patrick, is, and it goes to what I was saying before, most of these aren't military guys. So in the military, they could do more to take care of people with PTSD and to not make it horrible to say, hey, I've got a problem. These other people didn't probably think they had a problem. They probably thought they were justified in what. No, forget about bullying. It had nothing to do with bullying.
Well, a lot of people acted out because of bullying, especially in the schools.
I don't know that that's a cause of this. I mean, I'll tell you, I think there's a sense of permission out there today to go after racial groups, to go after Jews.
Bree's got his hand up.
Go after gays. Yes, Bree.
Well, Alex, I was just thinking the other day, when I heard this report, Thousand Oaks is actually, I know it well because it's where Sage Publishing is. Sage Publishing is a very big academic publisher. And so every time I cite, one of their books, I have to write Thousand Oaks, California. So when I heard that, it immediately went up. But it's almost to the point where it's like you could have a cable news channel just for daily shootings. Like here's our daily shooting today in the U.S. And really, does it phase anyone anymore? There will be another one in the next few days for sure, or the next week, So at what point do we do something about it?
Well, it's so bad. It's so bad, Bree, that we have had something like 320 deaths since the beginning of the year in mass shootings, not just in shootings of one person.
I thought there was 320 or 320 shootings.
No, mass. From mass shootings. This would be, they described it as 4 people or more.
Well, hell, it's been, 11 days or whatever since the last one.
Yeah, well, you had the synagogue. You had a 7-Eleven or something. There was another one. And then now this one.
Yeah. So,
it's a combination of factors. It's a combination of factors, as we all know. And I would add in there sort of hypermasculinity as represented in media.
Toxic masculinity.
And so there's a lot going on. In any given situation, ultimately it has to be mental illness or chemical imbalance.
Really, Bree, do you see any relation between violent video games and these shootings?
Well, what's funny is that a lot of times the NRA or the gun manufacturers will point to the video games and they'll say, "Oh, it's the video games." Actually, they're 2 peas in a pod. If you look at the video games, they actually consult with the weapons manufacturers to make sure that the weapons are exactly branded and that they do exactly what they're supposed to do. So there's no difference between the gun companies and the video game manufacturers.
So you're saying it's product placement? that the video games are using product placement?
I'm not
But
saying
Phil, studies.
Look in the games.
Recent studies. There was a recent study that came out a few weeks ago that said there was no correlation between video games and this kind of violence. Okay?
You can find studies that'll tell you whatever you want to hear.
But this was an
you should know.
This was an empirical study, because you'll pull a study out of your ass that nobody even heard of.
Well,
yes, Patrick.
I think your study came out of the ass.
A video game can contribute. It can contribute, but again,
if you're mentally unstable to begin with, I agree.
Right.
Yeah. Yes, Patrick.
All right. I mean, when I was a kid, I played Army. I played all of that.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, there was an incident where one of my neighbors, she didn't like us playing Army on the side of the yard by her house. And I was in the middle of stabbing a friend of mine. And she came over and she asked me not to do that. I said, okay. And I pulled out a .45 and I put it to his head and I pulled the trigger and I said, okay, now I'm not stabbing him anymore. I haven't killed anybody. I've never pulled a gun on anybody.
Right.
It part of it is the way I was raised, and I do think mental health has a lot to do with it, and that's what I was saying earlier, that it needs to be less of a stigma. And you're right, I forgot to add in the point that you and Phil both made. A lot of these people may not know that they need the help, and the family members or friends need to be able to get them to a facility, but something more than a 3-day and then they can check themselves out sort of thing.
Well, that's just for observation.
Hold on a second. Also, when it comes to violence in video games, most of these people are not had no record of playing video games. They were adults. They were not kids. The only ones that you could actually, the original one back in Columbine, you might say those kids.
Eric Harris and Dylan Klebold.
Yeah, might have been influenced by video games. But most of these people, the guy who went into the synagogue, the guy who killed how many people in Las Vegas? That was the biggest mass shooting practically of all time. No video games involved in that.
Well, we just didn't like country music.
Why don't we say that maybe you're going ahead and touting guns like crazy and wanting the availability of them does contribute, Phil, but you'll never admit that.
No, because these mentally ill people usually think twice if they don't know that people are armed. And not everybody has to be armed, but if they could be, then
that wouldn't stop them. That wouldn't have stopped them, Phil. Phil, that wouldn't have stopped them. You're full of crap. That wouldn't have stopped them.
Well, I think it would.
No, it wouldn't. You know why it wouldn't? Because these people, on top of everything else, are suicidal, so they don't give a shit if somebody has a gun in these places.
Good. Then they'll give them their wish.
Phil, the last one in California, didn't they got a lot of people had guns there.
Which one was that? Which
one?
Was that?
What was it, yesterday?
Yeah. No one had a gun there. There were 6 off-duty cops there that didn't have guns on them.
Wasn't there a gun at the school in Florida, and the guard?
The guard ran away.
Yeah, ran away. So I mean, what good did a gun do there?
Yeah, but the sheriff who went in yesterday, last night. That guy went in, he followed the protocol, he got killed, but that was what they train you to do, is to go in and confront. The guy in Florida, he ran away.
No shit.
But actually, he used the old training, which was to establish a perimeter and wait for SWAT.
And this cop, and I have to laud him for the hero that he is before I say this, but this cop, even though he was armed and took his gun out and was ready to go in and shoot the bad guy,
trained in all of that.
Trained in all of that, got killed. Okay? Yeah. So, I mean, does a gun necessarily help? No. These guys want to commit suicide in the first place. Listen, we're running out of time here.
Isn't it ironic that it's country music that has these mass shootings and not like people listening to gangster rap?
Well, no. In that case, the people doing the gangster rap get killed. So
they kill each other.
They kill each other.
Yeah.
It's a different culture.
And you know how they kill
thank
each
you,
other?
Phil.
They trip over their pants.
He probably
can't run away.
Oh, don't laugh at that, Brian. So fucking racist.
I grew
Phil,
up with
thank you. Jeff,
bunch of weird
thank you.
wannabes.
Thank you,
White guys wanting to be
Kevin.
black. Irritating as fuck.
Thank you, Brian. Thank you, Patrick. Always
Oh, yeah,
appreciate
I'm gonna
you.
laugh
And
at
Bree,
that more.
thank you so much. Everybody, a big wave goodbye. Okay, there they go. Ah, yes, goodbye, everybody. That's our citizens panel for tonight. Let me turn off all the citizens panel stuff so the next show, which is Jack Bishop and the Intersection, can use it. Tonight at 1 o'clock in the morning, it's Connections coming to you out of Florida. And then tomorrow night at 9:30, it's Damian Chaplin and the Exchange, and that will be followed by me once again. 10 o'clock, same time, same station in life. In the meantime, as always, if you see her, tell her I love her, okay? Bye-bye.